Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Jonathan Casey. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. It's no secret that despite loving many Android phones, I'm a devoted iPhone user. For the most part, I enjoy the experience. However, what really keeps me in the iOS ecosystem are the services. Things like iMessage and FaceTime to stay in contact with family, because getting them to switch to a universal app like Telegram just ain't happening.
Hey Pops, I'm gonna need you to download Telegram so that way I can text you.
What the hell is yellow ham? And why do I need it to text you?
It's also how much I have invested in iOS, whether it's the apps that I've purchased or the accessories that I have that can only be used on an iOS device, like an iPhone, an iPod, or an iPad. That said, I've always been intrigued by Android phones, and over the last few years, Samsung devices have really found a special place in my heart. To be real, if I had zero dependence on iOS and Apple services, I could easily see myself going all in on the Galaxy S20 Ultra. So I figured this would be a great opportunity to compare the iPhone 11 Pro Max versus the Galaxy S20 Ultra and talk about my experiences with both of these amazing devices. Before we get into pricing and availability, it's probably a good time to let you know that I'm referring to the Snapdragon variant of the Galaxy S20 Ultra. So if you happen to have the Exynos version, I am so sorry. I'll pour out a little liquor for you.
To the homie EXY from the NOS, may you rest in peace.
The iPhone 11 Pro Max comes unlocked with 3 different storage options. You have 64 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes, and 512 gigabytes. Pricing of each of those options are $1099, $1249, and $1449. The Galaxy S20 Ultra is available unlocked with 2 storage options, 128 gigabytes and 512 gigabytes. Pricing for those models include $1399 and $1599. It's also important to mention that despite the internal storage options on the Galaxy S20 Ultra, it is expandable via micro SD card slots up to 1 terabyte. Both companies also offer respectable trade-in deals, with Samsung definitely coming out ahead here. I paid $1,000 for a $1,600 Galaxy S20 Ultra by trading in my Note 10, and I also received $200 store credit for accessories. While Apple also has trade-in deals, they typically don't quite compare to Samsung's, but regardless, it's nice to see both companies offering their customers some sort of discount. Now that we've talked about the prices of each of these phones, I want you to remember those numbers as we proceed with the rest of this video. You can figure out which device offers the most value for your money as we continue. Let's begin with the design and ergonomics of each of these phones. The iPhone 11 Pro Max is thinner and it's shorter versus the Galaxy S20 Ultra. However, it's also wider and heavier, even though we're talking about the smallest of numbers here. Ergonomically, I've always been a fan of the subtle curvature of Galaxy devices. For me, they sit better in the palm, making single-hand usability slightly better than traditional flat-back designs. For the most part, this remains true for the Galaxy S20 Ultra. However, due to the massive camera bump, a case, in my opinion, is required if you want any kind of seamless look, which makes the backside flatter and less form-fitting in the palm. The weight distribution on the Galaxy S20 Ultra is pretty good. However, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is nearly perfect, which is why when holding each of these phones, the Galaxy S20 Ultra feels a little bit heavier despite it being lighter. Going back to the camera hump on the S20 Ultra, I do have to say that even though it's large and in charge, at least it doesn't have different layers to the bump like the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Not only does the iPhone have a large camera design, but the lenses themselves protrude a little bit further than the camera hump itself. Regardless, I stand by what I've said previously when it comes to these two phones. I think that you should pick up a case or get a skin like I have on my iPhone, regardless of what Apple says about the camera area being made of sapphire. One area the S20 Ultra beats out the iPhone 11 Pro Max is one-handed usability. Thanks to the plethora of one-handed software features, the S20 Ultra is relatively easy to use with one hand once you get used to using these features. The iPhone 11 Pro Max has reachability, which, well, if I'm being honest, I've never had any use for it. Design-wise, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is made of strengthened matte glass on the backside with a stainless steel frame. The Galaxy S20 Ultra is made of Gorilla Glass 6 and an aluminum frame, or aluminium for my UK folks. Both look incredible and feel great, and it's honestly going to come down to personal preference. For me, I think the matte glass and the stainless steel frame on the iPhone look and feel nicer, but I would love to see Samsung incorporate matte glass into their next device. It would definitely change my thoughts here. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, both phones are also dust and water resistant with their respectable IP68 ratings. The displays on both phones are incredible and offer a different experience, I feel. For starters, they both use Samsung OLED panels, and they're nearly identical when it comes to viewing angles and color shift. The Galaxy S20 Ultra has pretty much perfect color accuracy when in sRGB natural mode, showcasing 103% of the sRGB color gamut. It also has the highest DCI-P3 score at 101%, which is according to DisplayMate, and a record low 1% change in luminance when referring to the average picture level, or APL. The S20 Ultra has a higher peak luminance that is independent of on-screen content. It has better high contrast accuracy, and it's brighter in auto at 1,342 nits versus the iPhone 11 Pro Max's 1,290 nits. And on top of all that, it offers the ability to manually tweak the display for fine-tune adjustments if you feel the need to do so. The S20 Ultra also packs a 120Hz mode in Full HD+, which makes motion during games and system actions appear extremely fluid and smooth. The hole punch notch, or Infinity O display, is a little bit more subtle than the iPhone's notch, but honestly, in my opinion, a notch is a notch. I've learned to live with them regardless of the looks and size. That said, bezels are an entirely different story. And when you factor in the iPhone's extremely large notch, you get an 84% screen to body ratio versus the S20 Ultra's 90%, which the difference is definitely noticeable. One area I have to give the iPhone 11 Pro Max is the overall scaling capabilities with not just system apps, but third-party apps, at least the ones that I use. I find it to be better 99% of the time with icons, text, and images to appear nearly perfect with sharpness. But in my opinion, the S20 Ultra still has a far superior display. It provides a better media consumption experience for watching videos and of course, gaming. The stereo speakers on both of these phones are fantastic, but just like the display, they offer a different experience because the sound signatures are very different. The iPhone 11 Pro Max has more bass with punchier midtones, while the S20 Ultra is louder thanks to its focus on high frequencies, which does pick up more details. To be truthful, it's gonna come down to your preference, but here's a quick listen so you could try to hear the difference for yourself.
Welcome to my setup. This is my setup. Sit back and enjoy my setup. My setup. My setup. First things first, and I guess that's the disc. Sorting at the top, moving right to the left. If there's one thing that you need to know about me, it's the fact that I love audio so sweet. AKG 702 Pros, a flat response, open back headphones. Rock a mic, my middle name must be Hove. A P220 keeps the voice over cold. And I'm from FL and rock a gator stand. Plus a baby bass pro when I make a jam. A twist of the dial makes my music loud, but the DAC on board makes these words come out. A Logitech G700S, but when I need more, I got my Wacom. Yes, with an Apple keyboard, but yeah, that's boring. But I can't wait the old folks keep them snoring.
The port selection on both of these phones is pretty straightforward since neither offer a headphone jack. But that said, I would take the USB-C port on the S20 Ultra all day over the Lightning port on the iPhone due to universal compatibility. The S20 Ultra also sports a micro SD card slot, as I previously mentioned, which is definitely a great and welcomed addition. For security, we have Face ID versus the in-display fingerprint scanner. Between these two, I'll take Face ID all day. I have had less hiccups and issues with Face ID versus the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. With that said, Samsung offers face scanning, and I'm completely aware of this, by using the front-facing camera. However, even though it is fast, it's nowhere near as secure as Face ID. Make sure to check out the video I did going over the S20 security features to find out more by clicking the card at the top. Another big hardware difference is connectivity, since the Galaxy S20 Ultra is 5G ready, including millimeter wave. So if you tend to hang onto your device for several years, the S20 Ultra is going to remain relevant longer since it will work on future 5G cellular services as they continue to roll out. Performance on both of these phones will not disappoint. If you're into specs and specs only, the S20 Ultra is the obvious winner here with its Snapdragon 865 and 12 to 16 gigabytes of RAM. In comparison, the iPhone 11 Pro Max sports the A12 Bionic and 4 gigabytes of RAM. Obviously, the S20 Ultra beats out the iPhone when it comes to RAM, but the A12 Bionic holds its own when it comes to single-core performance. Really, where Apple has shined in the past is their optimization between the hardware and the software, since they control and build both. Personally, I think what used to be a huge benefit for Apple is now not as important. I've had performance glitches when it comes to my iPhone, and I've had issues with the Galaxy S20 Ultra. The latter has been less common in my experience, but I've also been using the phone for less time. My point is, both of these phones will have performance and software issues from time to time. It's going to happen. It's simply the name of the game when it comes to technology and how fast that technology is changing. The iPhone 11 Pro Max and the Galaxy S20 Ultra can handle all day-to-day tasks, gaming, productivity, photo and video editing, and everything in between. One way the S20 Ultra really separates itself from the iPhone 11 Pro Max is DeX. Many people probably don't really care about DeX, but it is worth mentioning since the experience is extremely unique and, well, I like it. I think DeX takes the cake for people serious about productivity and if you have the means to use it. If you were to ask me which device do I prefer, I think it's pretty simple. I would much rather work on productivity tasks, gaming, and consume media on the S20 Ultra because of the multitasking capabilities. Also, the display is larger, it has a higher resolution, and the 120 Hz mode is just sick. For video and photo editing, I think I prefer the iPhone because of the more muted colors. It gives me more of a natural look despite the color accuracy on the S20 Ultra being higher. I just get better results out of the iPhone. Everything else like web browsing and social media, I'll take either one. Moving on to battery life, we have a 3,969 milliamp hour battery on the iPhone versus the massive 5,000 milliamp hour battery on the S20 Ultra. Generally speaking, the S20 Ultra gets me much better screen on time regardless of the mode that I'm in. My iPhone 11 Pro Max used to offer me legendary battery life, but as of late, it's not the best. I average around 6 hours screen on time, not to mention the battery health capacity is at 95%, and this phone is not even a year old. The S20 Ultra also offers plenty of ways to increase your battery life, such as lowering the display resolution or using one of the included power-saving optimization modes. Both phones can charge pretty quick, but given how large the S20 Ultra's battery is, and the fact that you can charge it from 0 to 100 in about an hour, I have to give it to Samsung on that one. Plus, you can use reverse wireless charging on the Galaxy S20 Ultra to charge the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is like a slap to the face for iPhone users. Moving on to camera features and image quality, which could easily be a video in itself. I'm gonna try to be brief here. If you wanna see a detailed camera comparison, let me know, and I can see about adding it to the mix, since we have nothing but time while we're quarantined. When it comes to features on the Galaxy S20 Ultra, it just absolutely trumps the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Between all of the different camera modes to the additional time of flight camera on the back, the Galaxy S20 Ultra just offers more. That said, when looking at quality, which is the most important thing, things kind of change. During the day, the iPhone is definitely the most consistent. However, the S20 Ultra is capable of taking the better looking image. Sometimes the S20 Ultra absolutely crushes the shadows and darker areas, but that's not the worst part. The most frustrating thing is when looking closely at many of the photos and they're out of focus. And sometimes there's like a strange halo effect around the subject. When the S20 Ultra performs as it should, which hopefully is a glimpse of what's to come with future updates, the quality is stunning, and the 108 megapixel mode provides insane detail for cropping and reframing. The wide angle on both phones are totally capable and look great, although I do favor the Galaxy S20 Ultra. Telephoto images on both are hit or miss, but the S20 Ultra offers some flexibility with a pretty decent looking image up to 3x. What's funny is the front-facing camera I found to be the exact opposite as the rear-facing cameras. The iPhone just makes me look horrible at times, while the S20 Ultra was pretty consistent and exposed me properly while making my skin look natural and healthy, even if it blew out the background at times. Video is pretty much the same story. The S20 Ultra can take stunning video all the way up to 8K, but again, the focus pulsing ruins the shot sometimes, or the entire frame will just end up out of focus. That said, when the S20 Ultra performs the way it should, the footage looks better than what comes out of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. When going into low lights, it's pretty much the same thing. The story is consistency, which unfortunately the S20 Ultra running the latest March 2020 update lacks. The iPhone isn't necessarily superior in image quality, but it is consistent, and that consistency pays off when looking at all of the times the S20 Ultra messed up for me. Hopefully Samsung can get these things ironed out and quickly. The camera has great potential, and thanks to things like the built-in Pro modes, super steady video, the video editor, and the awesome photo editor, it can easily surpass the iPhone 11 Pro Max and the iPhone 11 Pro in the camera department. So let's wrap this up. In my opinion, the Galaxy S20 Ultra is a better phone overall. However, at the time of this video, the camera still has several serious issues. These issues absolutely impact the usability of the camera, since you might have to retake the same photo several times to ensure that it comes out correctly. The iPhone 11 Pro Max relies on consistency for the entire experience, even if that experience is a little stale, since the appearance and overall functionality of iOS hasn't changed in years. Believe it or not, this can actually be a good thing, considering iPhone users know exactly what to expect whenever they upgrade their phones. Plus, Apple tends to support their devices for a longer period of time through software updates versus Samsung. But if I wasn't reliant on iOS so much, like I said in the beginning, I could easily switch to the S20 Ultra entirely and be completely fine. But what about you? Which phone would you choose and why? Sound off down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more videos just like this, and I'll catch you beautiful quarantinees in the next one.